My uncle was resting in his room as I uncovered the truth. Ava is my name, and I am 22 years of age. You may find yourself curious about how a girl of my age comes to reside with her uncle, particularly in light of the story I am about to share. To be candid, I never anticipated that this would occur either. I am currently pursuing a degree in graphic design, dedicating the majority of my time to drawing, designing, and engaging in freelance projects. Life has presented challenges ever since my parents divorced during my childhood. I frequently relocated in search of stability. Ultimately, I found myself residing with my uncle Nathan. It was not included in the original plan. Please subscribe to my channel to ensure I can keep delivering more captivating true stories such as this one. Be sure to watch this video all the way through and give it a thumbs up, as the story promises to be exceptionally captivating. We kindly invite you to click the like button to express your support. The journey began when my mother had to leave for work, and I found myself in need of a place to stay while completing my college studies. Nathan, my uncle, was the sole family member capable of providing assistance. He has been united in marriage with his wife Victoria for several years now. They reside in an exquisite home nestled in the countryside, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. I anticipated that this would merely be a temporary relocation to a serene environment. Yet the outcome diverged from my expectations. Several months later, I had acclimated to the house, the routine and the tranquility, or so I believed. Today, an event occurred that I feel compelled to share. The moment I entered Nathan's room, he was peacefully asleep. Before I delve into the details, be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep yourself informed about the continuation of this narrative. I would like to share some insights about Nathan. He stands apart from the typical uncles. In my eyes, he has consistently represented more of a mentor than a relative. During my formative years, he imparted lessons on riding a bike, repairing household items, and generously gifted me my first car upon my 18th birthday. When my mother required assistance in finding someone to care for me, Nathan emerged as the clear and logical option. He is considerate, composed, and exceptionally compassionate. However, my relocation involved more than just him. Victoria, his wife, had been part of the scene for some time. They tied the knot 2 years ago, and initially, I had some reservations about her. She is older than Nathan, and there was something about her that made me feel like an outsider in their home. At first, I occupied the guest room located at the far end of the house, making an effort to avoid any sense of intrusion. As time passed, the initial awkwardness faded, and Victoria began to offer me guidance on cooking, cleaning, and various household matters. We did not share a close friendship. However, it lacked the intensity it had previously. I believe that circumstances were improving. However, I have recently observed something that eludes explanation. As I spent additional moments in Nathan's company, an increasing attraction began to develop within me. The warmth of his smiles, the gentle brush of his hand, and the way he gazed at me when he believed I was unaware of his watchful eyes. It had a distinct quality. It was impossible for me to overlook it. A palpable tension started to develop between us. A force that was inescapable. I understand your thoughts. Ava, could you clarify what you mean? He is your uncle. It may seem unbelievable. I am aware. This connection is irrefutable. I attempted to dismiss it. I convinced myself it was merely a figment of my imagination. Yet, whenever we found ourselves in solitude, the ambience seemed electrified. It felt as though an unseen force was drawing us closer. This is where the intrigue begins. One evening after dinner, I was diligently focused on a project in my room when I became aware of footsteps echoing in the hallway. Nathan had been resting for several hours. Victoria was out with friends, leaving us alone. Initially, I didn't think much of it, but then I heard the door to his bedroom creak open. I froze for a moment, uncertain whether to let him rest or step inside. However, an inexplicable pull drew me toward him. Quietly, I opened the door, making an effort not to disturb him. He lay on his back, one arm behind his head, exuding a sense of peace. While he slumbered, the gentle light streaming through the window created delicate shadows across his face, rendering him nearly ethereal. I paused for a moment. My heart is racing. I sensed a warm flush spread across my face. My pulse quickens. I had never experienced such feelings before. Perhaps I simply desired to gaze upon him. Perhaps it was something beyond that. I was unaware. My train of thought was abruptly halted as I inadvertently toppled a vase situated near his bed. The noise caused Nathan to awaken. He opened his eyes. For a fleeting instant, our eyes met. His eyes reflected a sense of confusion. However, there is an additional aspect to consider. 2. An elusive concept that defies definition. He blinked several times, focusing on myself. Subsequently, a groggy laugh escaped. "Ava, what brings you here?" he inquired, his voice heavy with slumber. My heart raced as I endeavored to articulate the perfect words. I aimed to avoid the appearance of prying. However, I found it challenging to articulate my thoughts. My mouth became parched. I apologize for waking you. I faltered in my speech. Experiencing a sense of embarrassment, Nathan gradually sat up. He rubbed his eyes. He offered me a smile. The identical type. The smile he consistently offered was one of warmth and reassurance. However, today there was an unmistakable change in his gaze, a moment that quickened my heartbeat. He observed me intently for a moment before resuming the conversation. "It is acceptable." He spoke softly. "Feel free to reach out to me anytime. Ava, I'm here to support you." I acknowledged with a nod. However, my thoughts were in disarray. I was uncertain about how to navigate this unfamiliar sensation. The atmosphere in the room was dense. I could sense my breath quickening. I simply wished to engage in conversation. I spoke softly. Nathan's smile diminished slightly. I perceived a fleeting hesitation in his eyes, but it quickly disappeared. He gestured towards the space beside him on the bed. "Please come here." Subsequently, "Feel free to reach out to me anytime." He spoke with warmth. I paused for a moment, indeterminate. Yet an inner drive compelled me to move ahead. Without hesitation, I took a seat beside him. The atmosphere between us was charged, more substantial than before. The warmth of his body pressed against mine was palpable. The scent of his cologne permeates the atmosphere. Our proximity was such that I could discern the sound of his breathing and sense the gentle rise and fall of his chest with every inhalation. Once more, my heart raced, and gradually, nearly in slow motion, I gazed up at him. Our faces were in such proximity that I could sense his warmth. His gaze exuded a gentle warmth, uncertain. However, there was an additional element, a sensation that sent a thrill through my skin. "Ava, are you feeling all right?" Nathan inquired softly, prior to my ability to respond. I moved in closer to him. My heart raced and my breath hitched in my chest. It was beyond my ability to articulate. However, all sensations seemed remarkably heightened. The atmosphere felt electrified. Nathan remained steadfast, not retreating. His gaze locked onto mine with a serene intensity. He remained silent. However, his breath became more rapid, reflecting my own. The atmosphere in the room exuded a comforting warmth. The quietude that enveloped us grew heavier with the weight of unexpressed thoughts. My thoughts were in a tumultuous state. This moment was the culmination of all that had transpired. I found it impossible to restrain myself. Gently, I inclined my body forward. My lips quivered as though I were lost in a dream. They made contact with his. Initially, there was a sense of uncertainty, provisional. However, as his lips connected with mine, delicate and soothing, I found it impossible to restrain myself. My thoughts urgently urged me to cease. However, my body would not comply. This was essential for me. This is what I desired. Nathan's hand gently cradled my cheek, drawing me nearer. His other hand lay beside us, caressing my skin. The warmth of his touch was palpable. The kiss intensified. Before long, it became difficult to discern the boundary between his lips and mine. All else faded into oblivion. Only the two of us were present. Ensnared in this undeniable bond, my thoughts surged with uncertainty, remorse, yet accompanied by an unusual feeling of correctness. What were we engaged in? What made it feel so essential? Words failed to capture it. There is no rationale supporting it. He momentarily withdrew, his forehead gently pressed against mine. Our breaths were labored. Every breath is unsteady and deliberate. I could sense his heartbeat against my skin, in sync with the swift rhythm of my heart. "Ava." His voice carried a gentle softness, burdened by a profound complexity. It is advisable that we refrain from doing so. However, I had my doubts. Certainly, I concurred. There was an undeniable force within me that dismissed any rationale for halting. Gradually, I extended my hand towards him, entwining my fingers with his. He remained close, his fingers intertwined with mine, clinging to me with the same intensity that I clung to him. Our gazes intertwined. For an extended moment, there was no conversation between us. The burden of all that existed lingered in the space between us. Ought we to proceed? Is it possible for us to do so? My hand instinctively glided to the back of his neck. Drawing him nearer, I pressed my lips to his once more. This moment, there was an unwavering certainty. Embrace courage. the undeniable urge to remain near him, to sense his presence. Nathan's hand glided down my back, pulling me nearer. The connection between our bodies heightened every sensation to an extraordinary degree. I was uncertain about the direction this was taking. However, I remained indifferent. I wished to remain in this moment where solely the two of us were present. My heart raced within my chest as his lips brushed against my neck, delicately placing gentle kisses upon my skin. His breath brushed softly against my ear. A chill courses through me. It was a sensation unlike any I had previously experienced. Personal, engaging, and profoundly incorrect, yet exhilarating in a manner I couldn't articulate. "Are you certain about this?" He whispered softly against my skin, his voice laden with longing. "I have no intention of causing you any pain." I shut my eyes, seeking to discover my unique expression. Every part of me urged to halt, to withdraw. However, I was unable to do so. The yearning was overwhelming. The need is too powerful. I found myself reluctant to engage in further contemplation. I preferred not to raise any inquiries. I simply desired to be in his presence. "I'm confident," I spoke softly, my hands gliding across his chest, experiencing the gentle warmth of his skin under my fingertips. "I desire this, Nathan. I desire your presence." His lips met mine once more. This time, the kiss was more profound, increased urgency. The point of no return had been reached. The realm beyond these walls held no significance. It was solely the emotions he evoked within me. Wished for, required, and vibrant in a manner I had never encountered previously. The space appeared to constrict around us. The light faded as the depth of our connection intensified. Each touch, each kiss resonated with the assurance of deeper connections yet to unfold. An enigma that eluded our complete comprehension. However, we are both prepared to embark on an exploration. His heartbeat resonated steadily with mine, harmonizing with my personal cadence. Despite a lingering resistance within me, I grappled with the undeniable reality of the situation unfolding. A significantly larger portion of the sin yielded entirely. It had evolved beyond mere kissing. It transcended that. The connection was beyond my ability to articulate, a connection that transcended mere language. "This desire has been long held," Nathan spoke in a hushed tone. His breath lingered warmly against my lips. His words were nearly incomprehensible as my hand explored his form, experiencing the tension of the muscles under his skin, the warmth of his presence, his response to me. However, there was no option to retreat at this point. The magnetic attraction between us drew us ever closer, in a manner that took us both by surprise. Time appeared to pause as we immersed ourselves in one another. Within the serene cadence of our kisses, the gentle warmth of our touches, for the first time everything seemed to align perfectly. In the quiet of the room, we transcended the roles of uncle and niece. We were two individuals connected by a profound bond, something more intense than anything I had ever experienced. The atmosphere between Nathan and me was laden with tension. Neither of us is making a move. Neither of us is speaking. The stillness was abruptly broken by the creak of the front door swinging open downstairs. We stood still, My heart quickened. I swiftly distanced myself from Nathan, a wave of panic surging within me. What have we just accomplished? What was unfolding between us? A wave of guilt enveloped me. However, it was intertwined with another element, a longing I could not overlook. I found myself caught between the experience we had just shared and the undeniable truth that we were intertwined in something deeper. We were unable to reverse it with ease. Nathan remained still for a moment. His gaze was fixed upon me. However, his expression remained inscrutable. The intensity of the connection between us was palpable. The enduring intimacy that had yet to fade away. Eva, he spoke in a hushed tone. His voice was strained. Before he had the chance to say anything further, the sound of footsteps resonated as they ascended the stairs. Nathan heard a voice that I instantly recognized. My heart felt heavy. It was indeed Victoria. I swiftly leaped off the bed. My breath is quick and shallow. I was uncertain about the next steps to take. My thoughts surged in all directions. However, I found myself unable to conceive a solution to this predicament. Was I truly prepared to confront her after the events that had just unfolded? The door to Nathan's room slowly creaked open, and there she stood, Victoria, positioned in the entrance. A look of astonishment etched across her features. Her gaze shifted back and forth between Nathan and me. A look of confusion crossed her features as she absorbed the scene before her. Eva? Nathan? What is happening here? She inquired. Her voice wavered with uncertainty. However, there was an additional element, a profound insight, perhaps, that indicated to her that something was amiss. A wave of pallor washed over me. Victoria's presence was akin to a refreshing splash of cold water. In that very moment, all seemed amiss. This situation defies explanation. There is no way to rationalize the events that transpired between Nathan and myself. My throat constricted as I grappled with the elusive words. I hesitated in my speech, uncertain about how to express my thoughts. Nathan, currently positioned on the bed, appeared equally bewildered. He rubbed the back of his neck with his hand, undeniably flustered. I find it challenging to articulate my thoughts on the matter. Victoria shifted her gaze from him to me. There existed a silent comprehension shared between us. It seemed as though, in that singular instant, a transformation occurred. Victoria sensed that an event had transpired, something that ought not to have occurred. However, her response was not what I anticipated. Rather than feeling anger or disappointment, there existed only a profound depth, a disquieting sorrow reflected in her gaze. She entered the room. She closed the door behind her. Her presence exuded authority, and the room descended into an unusual silence, a palpable stillness, the tranquility that precedes a tempest. Ava, it is essential to grasp this concept. Victoria spoke softly. Her voice was more delicate than I had expected. This situation holds greater depth than you may perceive, more than either of you realize. I gazed at her. My mind is overwhelmed with confusion. What was her intention? What else remained? The silence persisted long after Victoria had departed. Her words lingered in the atmosphere, imprinting a lasting impression on each of us. In spite of the prevailing confusion, her composed insight and willingness to provide direction presented me with an unforeseen gift: anticipation. Victoria did not feel anger. She did not discard us. Alternatively, she provided us with an opportunity that appeared delicate and ambiguous, yet it remains present. I cast a brief look at Nathan. His expression was a blend of guilt and confusion, accompanied by an elusive emotion that I couldn't fully discern. He averted his eyes from mine. His hands fidgeted together with unease. He was acutely aware of the burden of recent events, the manner in which our world converged unexpectedly. However, the more I contemplated the matter, as I came to understand, it became clear that none of this was part of anyone's design. Events had transpired beyond our influence. One thing I was certain of was that we could not overlook it. We could not act as if nothing had occurred. Victoria was indeed correct regarding that matter. The emotions and uncertainty, all matters required attention. It was a challenge that needed to be confronted directly. Nathan. I spoke softly. My voice quivered ever so slightly. What are our next steps? Nathan cast his gaze in my direction. His eyes brimmed with a blend of emotions. I am uncertain. Ava, I am uncertain about my emotions. What should one consider? I'm uncertain whether I should feel anger, embarrassed, if I am permitted to experience any emotions whatsoever. His voice faltered, unveiling the inner conflict within his expressions. He found himself caught in a conflict between the profound bond we had forged and his unwavering loyalty to Victoria, his spouse. The matter could not be resolved in a single discussion. The situation was far from straightforward. I inhaled deeply and approached him. Bridging the gap that separates us, I intended to contact him to offer my support. However, I found myself uncertain if that was the appropriate course of action. I found myself uncertain about what was right any longer. I believe it may not be possible to resolve everything at this moment, spoke in a gentle tone. However, I believe it is essential for us to have a conversation to maintain honesty with one another. This matter is far too complex to overlook. Nathan acknowledged with a slow nod. His expression was serious. However, not upset. Indeed, I am aware. I'm uncertain about how to begin. I grasped his hand. The contact is both soothing and imbued with unexpressed feelings. We begin by acknowledging the events that transpired, the emotions we experienced, the emotions that linger within us. Next, we will determine the subsequent steps. He nodded once more. His expression softened slightly. The task ahead will present challenges. Ava, however, I seek to gain a deeper understanding. I seek clarity regarding the dynamics between us. I grasped his hand firmly. The connection was both soothing and laden with unexpressed feelings. I do not possess all the answers. Nathan, I'm uncertain about what unfolds next. However, I am not evading this situation. That is no longer the case. We lingered in silence for a brief moment, each immersed in contemplation, seeking to understand all that has transpired. The path ahead was uncertain. There are no straightforward solutions. The feelings, the state of confusion, the experience was utterly overwhelming. What Victoria extended to us was truly a lifeline, a shared environment to confront all challenges collectively, to address the chaos we had encountered. I cast my gaze upon Nathan once more, and for the very first time, no matter what transpired thereafter, I felt a certain inevitability. We shall confront it with transparency. A flawless solution was absent. There is no straightforward solution to resolve the issues at hand. Yet, there remained a glimmer of hope, wishing for clarity and restoration, and perhaps for something even greater. As I reclined, my mind is abuzz with endless possibilities. Victoria was on my mind. Her calmness and offer of understanding had opened a door I hadn't known existed. She hadn't rejected or condemned us. Instead, she had given us space to breathe and process what had transpired. Yet, questions lingered about what would happen next. If we acknowledged the depth of our feelings, could we move forward, or would the weight of it all prove too burdensome? Those were inquiries for another time. For now, it was just Nathan and me, sitting in the silence of our shared uncertainty. We both understood that nothing would ever be the same again. All we could do was take the next step, whatever that might be, and together, we would find a way to navigate this journey.